Hello everyone and welcome back to Torchlight 2. Well, hey, we are actually approaching the end of the game. I bet you never saw that coming, considering how long I took a break from this game for. So here we are in the final town of the game. I will be saying final XYZ of the game a fair amount. It's a quite small town, but it has all the amenities. It's got the gambler, it's got the guys destroying gems or destroying items and recovering gems. This is the Guardian of Mana. I really love the Guardian design, by the way. This one especially looks really cool. And not just because of the chesticles. Yeah, the barrier between our world and the Nether is most fragile at the clockwork core. Hordes of them are beginning to burst through, and if the alchemist destroys the core, the tide of Netherim will be unstoppable. You must overtake the alchemist before he reaches the clockwork core. With the power of Orjak's heart, he could destroy the barrier between the worlds, which would mean the end of everything. You must defeat the alchemist and seize the heart. He intends to use it for destruction, but, infused with the energy stolen from the Guardians, it now has the power to restore the core and repair the damage to the barrier. So there we go. Essentially, the alchemist, through his actions, is weakening the barrier between worlds and would make it possible. Might as well buy those pieces. It would make it possible for the Nether creatures, which we fought those a few times before. It would make it possible for those creatures to essentially enter our world and attack, and that would be very bad, obviously. So, as I've explained, the final act is really just one big dungeon, which is the Broken Mines. But it's a big dungeon, 6 or 7 levels deep, so no joke, definitely. But of course, I'm still overpowered beyond measure, so I hope you'll forgive me if I don't explore everything and kill everything. It is a nice tile set, it has some cool things that I might show off if I come across them. But if I find the path to the next level, I will take it. I think that's agreeable enough, and you know, I'm always trying to get a bit of a balance between showing a lot of the game, but also keeping it interesting. Some other German Let's Player I've sometimes watched, he referred to this as 99%. Oh, Philip Lucker, interesting. As 99% playthroughs, so you know, just shy of 100%, because that would take ages. Mostly missing the final little pieces that take forever to get. And I'm somewhat taking a similar approach, you know, showing most of the game, but you know, leaving some little pieces for you to discover if you so desire, if the game is one that you like to play. It's one of the great things about LPs, that you essentially get a certain... You see a game, you get an impression, and in many cases that motivates you to buy the game. Which is something that some game developers seem to be unaware of, that a Let's Player is not really abusing their intellectual property, and it's not a replacement for people. They don't watch the LP instead of buying the game. Tends to be they watch the LP and then buy the game, because the LP made them want to buy the game. Stuff like that. And there's some developers, Nintendo and Sega for example, which sort of assume that they're losing out on money that they could make otherwise if people LP their games. So some companies are really annoying about, you know, oh, you've made an LP of our game, fine, we're just going to put ads on that, you're not getting anything from it. Which is terrible for those guys that actually want to make money with their LPs. Which would be fine, because they're still providing free advertising to the company. The amount of times I have seen comments along the lines of, oh, you made me want to buy this game. And especially the amount of times I myself have bought a game because I've seen an LP of it. The only reason I own an Xbox 360 is because I wanted to play Lost Odyssey because I'd seen an LP of it. So, I know that companies feel threatened by it because, oh, you know, it's sort of content of our game and we don't have any control over it. We want that control back. It's a little like the United States with their sort of spying operations, where they just have to know everything. You know, if we don't know what this guy has written in his email to his girlfriend, we might all die. So we have to know. We have to know everything about everyone. That sort of thing. They just don't want to give away any control over their own intellectual property, which it's somewhat understandable that they don't want sort of copyright infringements. But some of them just seem to have missed the point of an LP, that it's not something you watch instead of playing the game. Only in rare cases. I mean, what it feels like to me is that the companies are aware that their games are bad, and so they only release a crappy trailer or a really well-made trailer, which doesn't actually show the game. It just sort of shows you 2 cutscenes and all the best moments from the game in 2 seconds or so. And they know that if people had a more thorough idea of what the game was actually going to be like, they wouldn't buy it. So I know it sounds harsh, but it seems to me that those companies that want to suppress LPs are the ones that know they're making terrible games. But they just want to sell their games anyway, obviously. That might be the way down. Yes! Onto the Alchemist. Not the final boss of the game, incidentally. And this is now arguably the 4th level of the dungeon. But we have to activate these valves before we can get to the Alchemist. This is the path, but it requires another activation before we can use it. I believe that's down here. Yes. Yes, it is. And activating this valve, it takes a little bit of time before you can actually go on. There we go. And then we can deactivate this valve and, you know, teleport out. Thusly. And go right here, activate this valve. Again, it takes a little while for this platform to come up. Just a little bit of a thing they do to make it more difficult to skip the fights, basically. And now the other 2 pieces of this walkway will also move in, and there we go. And there he is, the Alchemist, the one we've been chasing all along. And he is not looking exactly like, but somewhat similar to the actual Alchemist class from the first game, which obviously story-wise that's who he is. He is the Alchemist from the first game who, in order to cure his Ember Blight, has gone ever so slightly insane. And stopped teleporting out of Hailstorm, that's not very nice. It's phase 2 done. Cast the emulation aura and go to phase 3. There we go. Defeated the Alchemist, we get a mysterious maze. I said a mysterious maze, and the Heart of Aldrak. And an ornate chest containing a mysterious wand. Mysterious Maze is a mallet of loving correction. And the Mysterious Wand, I am out of identify scrolls. Oh well. Maybe I'll find one along the way, maybe not. Doesn't matter. So yeah, it just... I don't know, I hate companies that suppress LPs. I mean, I also hate the music developers that, you know, suppress music in LPs, because it's a nuisance for me. and I'm talking while the game is playing its music. It's not, at least I don't think it should count as sort of copyright infringement, or sort of the weakest form of copyright infringement. Anyone who actually wants to buy this soundtrack, or maybe anyone even who wants... whoa, I'm losing lots of health here. I'm slightly on fire. Whew, that was close. Yeah, glass cannon, as I said. And now, of course, because the alchemist section have weakened the portal between the worlds. Look, an identify scroll. We are now in an area that's sort of infested with these Netherring creatures. I mean, there's still some of the old sort of dwarven machinery, because this is an old dwarven mine where the clockwork core is housed, but I don't quite know what the clockwork core is. Sorry. But yeah, anyway, sort of the music playing in the background while someone else is talking over it in an LP. No one is watching an LP to be able to listen to the music without paying for it. I mean, there are people who want to listen to the music without paying for it, and they will obviously search YouTube, but they will be looking for someone who uploaded the song by itself, which I would totally agree that's copyright infringement. Or if it's just the song and I turned off the in-game sound, for example, or if it's, for example, during the final credits of the game, a song is playing and I'm not talking because, you know, just, oh, listen to this song and I won't talk for this. Then I can sort of see that, yeah, okay, fine. Arguably, someone, especially someone who has criminal energy, or at least a bit of criminal energy, he might go ahead and download the video, rip the song from it, and essentially he would now have the song by itself without having paid for it. Somewhat reasonable, I mean, at least I can see the point. Really, background music playing while I'm talking, that's copyright infringement. No one is losing money over this. No one who would have bought the soundtrack is now not going to buy it because he can hear it in the background. It's sort of... I know it's a naive approach, and it's not something that's really... something that's enforceable in a court of law just because it's something that can't be proven in many cases, but to my mind something is copyright infringement if it actually costs the company money. If it's provable that it costs the company money, and that should be something that it should be the basis of a legal system, really, that innocent until proven guilty thing, that until the company can at least prove beyond reasonable doubt that the actions of someone uploading the song actually cost them money, cost them financial loss. And if they can't prove that, then they shouldn't be able to block someone's video just because he's playing our music. Of course, this is, you know, YouTube. YouTube doesn't really care about legalities. YouTube says, oh wait, that company is really rich, we're going to give them what they want. And you're just a small YouTuber. Yeah, we really don't care about you at all. So they've said before that for a company, and they've literally said this in pretty much those words, that for a company to request a video takedown and that request to be fulfilled, the video does not actually have to infringe copyright in a legal sense. The company can just ask for a video to be taken down, and chances are YouTube will do it. They do not check if copyright has been infringed, and they don't even care. In many cases, even if they would agree that, yeah, this isn't actually copyright infringement, they will still take the video down, log your channel, and leave it at that, just because you don't have financial power. If you hate YouTube, they don't care. It's similar to, you know, EA's attitude at times when, you know what, we've made a crappy game, and a lot of people will now say we're not buying any more of your games. You know what, we don't care, enough people are just going to buy the next one anyway. So, you hate us, fine. Chances are you will buy the next Assassin's Creed. Just calling Assassin's Creed here because that's one of the games where it's noticeable that the sequels have become worse and worse, but people are still buying them. This doesn't necessarily have to do with EA in this case, but you know what I mean. And similar things are happening with Call of Duty games, for example, which are getting worse and worse and less interesting. But, you know, people will still pay their 60 euros, so why would they care? And YouTube is very similar. If a single YouTuber, small Let's Player, leaves them, no loss. If 100 of them leave, no loss. If 1,000 Let's Players of sort of my size of channel leave YouTube, they don't care. It's irrelevant. They don't lose any money. If a big company, like Nintendo for example, decided YouTube really isn't in our best interests anymore, they might actually lose money. So of course, if Nintendo says we don't want that video on YouTube, they're going to say, okay, sure, we'll take it down. Please don't go away. Ooh, treasure room. Small treasure room. Whereas, you know, if I were to say I'm leaving YouTube if this doesn't change, they say, okay, fine, there's the door. Which, it can be a little annoying, that way. I mean, often enough things are reasonable, and it's not something that I've personally had big problems with. It tended to be a case of, I think currently I have 2 content ID hits on my videos, 3 of them, and one of them is perfectly valid. I knew that content ID hit was going to happen before I uploaded the video. I basically put up a gameplay compilation of Guild Wars 2, which I should probably delete that actually, but the point remains. It's literally just gameplay footage while I'm playing a song. There's no doubt that that is at best a grey area. Now, the usual approach of content owners is to say, you know, upload this, fine, we just want to put ads on it. Because if they block the video, then they're not really getting anything from it, and if it happens too much and too big people, I mean, if it happened to me, no one cares, but if a big YouTuber gets too many of those, he will complain and it'll be bad publicity. So, for example, that Angry Joe show thing, when the content ID system was changed and he was unable to get ad revenue from any of his videos. That was a big deal. Lots of people heard about it, lots of people sort of agreed with him that, you know, this is really bad and it's taking away his livelihood and all that. Bad publicity for YouTube, so they sort of, in that particular case, I think all content IDs were removed for him because, you know, he's a big guy, it actually is publicity if he says something. And if he says something good, it's good publicity. If he says something bad, it's bad publicity. Wouldn't happen in my case, obviously. If I say something, YouTube doesn't even notice. If I tell all my subscribers, oh, YouTube is evil, boycott it, no one would do it. And even if they did, that would not be an amount of users leaving YouTube that would even register. It's not something they notice as an amount of users. It's just sort of the normal people closing their accounts thing that happens all the time. And we're approaching the final boss, which just about works out with the episode length. I know I've not been talking much about the game recently, but hey! This is the Clockwork Core. And we can use the power of Audric's heart to fix this place, but not quite yet. Because here he is, the Netherlord. Somewhat contemplating to kite this guy out a little bit for, you know, just to show you his attacks a little bit. So he's got that flame breath thing. Just trying to keep him slowed with the hailstorm. This is only his first form. It's shadow form, I guess, and this is the real one. Here you can do these bolts that he can fire. You can make stones drop down from above. You can the charge attack. And he is guaranteed to drop 2 unique items. So if you're farming for uniques, this is a good guy to farm. Engineer, and oh, I'm out of identify scrolls again. Did you drop one? You didn't. Bastard. Now let's put Aldrak's heart into the clockwork core, use its power to repair the place to close the portal.
The clockwork core has protected the world from the Netherrealm for longer than even the Guardians can remember. As the core wound down, the Netherrealm slipped through. They brought destruction to the races of the world. They subjugated the powerful and concealed themselves well, awaiting the time when they could hold one true hero in their thrall. One capable of destroying the clockwork core and throwing wide the gate between worlds. Yet they did not foresee that another hero would arise to stand against them and seal the Netherrealm in their ethereal prison once more.
Okay, again, because of volume problems, that was barely audible. Essentially just went through the story of the game, pretty much. You know, the Netherrealm came out, but they didn't see me coming, and I put them back in their prison. Essentially, that's really the game now being done. I mean, the main story being done. We have a final quest reward to take. And this is always a choice between 5 different uniques. I think the level of those depends on the playthrough that you're in. So because this is New Game Plus 3, I'm not actually getting level 100 stuff, I believe. Oh, somewhat close. Level 90, 53, 53, 44, and 53. Okay. Oh, let's just go with the Embercraft gloves, because why not? And a bunch of fame, not that it really matters. And now, there are 2 things that I can do, and I'll just quickly show you the first one. Reto the Mapper. Reto? Reto. Reto? I think. Yeah, let's go. The legendary Mapworks is operational once more. From the Mapworks you can navigate to all sorts of wondrous places. May find adventures surely await you within. So let's go to Mapworks. This is basically the endless mode of the game. Most dungeon crawlers like this, after you've finished the story, they give you some form of an endless mode. Often enough it's an endless dungeon, you know, you can go deeper and deeper and fight more and more enemies. Or what Diablo 3 did was adventure mode, where you just get these bounties and all that stuff. This game also has a similar approach. From this guy here, Compass the Map Seller, Compass, you can buy maps to exotic dungeons. These have a level range. I think to farm the skulls I had to go for 55 to 56 to 65 ish. So basically the lowest level you can get is 48 to 55, which is about the point where you'll be at when you finish the game. These will be reasonable. And he doesn't actually sell any of the level in between that, so that would be between, you know, these 2 level ranges. There's another one, and that's where I would find farm the Skulls of Lemoine. And essentially the icon of the dungeon tells you the tile set that will be used. My favorite one would always be this, the sort of dragon head icon. Those would be the tile set I spoke about. The Irex's Tower has that tile set. And it just has a lot of hidden rooms to find those chests. Problem is, as your own level increases, it sort of slightly gives you more dungeons of that level range. So because I'm level 100, I get a bunch of level 105 and 96 to 100 maps, as you can see, and a bunch of 86 to 95 as well. So lots of high level ones and only a very small amount of low level ones. So what I would have to do usually is actually go about on another character, just buy the maps, which they're fairly cheap. So that character wouldn't have to level up much. He just had a bunch of money. I basically leveled that character up for that specific purpose, so I never bought anything from the random gambler. I had 300,000 gold or something like that. A lot. And then I would buy the maps on that character because he got a lot of maps of the right level range and put them in the chest, put them out on her, and, you know, go to the dungeons. Most of the dungeons have an additional benefit, not necessarily all of them. For example, this one is just a standard dungeon. Those will be 2 levels and then a boss level. But unfortunately the bosses do not have a guaranteed unique drop, so a little disappointing there, but I would have liked if they had, but it's fair enough that they don't. But sometimes you also get bonuses. For example here, cast speed reduced by 50% plus 200% to all damage, which affects players and pets, so that would be me. And essentially it triples my damage, but my cast speed is slowed. There's also stuff that affects the monsters, such as the monsters have a chance to burn me for 4 seconds. There's also stuff that actually weakens the monsters, for example reducing their damage by 15%. I don't know if this is actually the damage the monsters do or the damage they take. But essentially you can get dungeons which are more difficult because the monsters are buffed and you have debuffs on you. And you can get ones that are easy because you have buffs and the monsters have debuffs. And there's also ones that, like this gives additional gold and experience, that's good for farming. There's also ones that have increased magic find, that one for example. This one's quite nice for farming as well, because of the magic find and such. Anyway, that's the first infinite mode of the game. Or rather, that's the infinite mode. There's also a gambler here, a merchant, enchanter. It's kind of a full town. There's also your stashes here. Kind of difficult to see, but there they are. And I can go back to the minehead. And then the other option you have, which I'll just show you now, is to talk to Felicia. And she has that nice plus over her head, and she will move me to New Game Plus mode. My next adventure will begin at level 120. Confirm that. And this is, well, just your standard New Game Plus. Puts me in the game menu. Mod details. I have camera zoom and monster draw distance active. And so I can now resume. I am now in New Game Plus 4, so it's only taking me 1 New Game tier up again. Because I've already reached the level 100 set of New Game Pluses, basically, it decides now, you know what, he's level 100, so we're only going to move him 1 up. Get the intro cinematic again, which I'm skipping, and there we are. Just at the very beginning, you know, I go past, take the very first quest from the Destroyer again. Quest rewards obviously leveled up to my level roughly, and then, you know, just the same game all over again. Differently generated, but, you know, rats here and exactly the same, basically. So, yeah, I think this is a good place to end the game. I really hope you didn't mind my rushing through the content a little bit towards the end. I think I gave the bosses enough time to do some of their attacks, especially the Netherlord, but I always felt that even as you're playing through the game, the Netherlord he just comes out of nowhere. He's just, you know, we need a final boss. Oh, Netherlord, fine. Just go with it. It seems a little unmotivated to suddenly have that guy there. I don't know where he's coming from really, but he's the big bad boss and, you know, you kill him, that's it. So, yeah, I guess there's not much left to say. As I've said numerous times throughout the game, it's a really, really fun game. It's sort of light entertainment, nothing serious. If you're looking for something that's maybe a little less serious than Diablo 3, and definitely a lot cheaper, especially if you get it on sale, this will cost you maybe €5, €4, $5 roughly, something along those lines. It's just, you can't really go wrong with a $5 game that has this kind of size. I mean, even if you find out after your first playthrough, this is terrible, I don't want to play it anymore, you probably still got your money's worth out of it, so... yeah. And, I mean, if you like the end game, it actually offers a lot of replayability, and some of it comes from the fact that you're not able to change your build very much. So once you can only reallocate the last 3 skill points you spent, and you cannot reallocate stat points at all. So somewhat problematic, I guess, if you're looking to get the respecking option. But yeah, as I said, lots of replayability from that as well, because you have to start a new character if you want to try a different build, essentially, or use a mod to respec, of course. That's also fine. Yeah, I guess there's not really much left to say. Just, I guess I hope you enjoyed the series, and maybe we'll meet again in a different project. Bye bye.